Okay, we're gonna watch this about Kid Starver, aka Keir Starmer, um, Prime Minister of the UK. So apparently he's having some trouble right now, especially when it comes to his like allowance of known Epstein associate. Uh, what's his first name again? I can't remember. Mandelson, Peter Mandelson. Uh, Peter Mandelson allowing him into the government of the UK and essentially protecting him from that connection with Epstein for an extended period of time until the Epstein files finally made it like untenable, and he was forced to finally get rid of Mandelson. So let's go and watch this video. Let's see what the BBC collabing with itself, as you can see down here. Let's see what they have to say about Keir Starmer's most recent troubles that he's having. It's good to sometimes catch up with UK politics. I know the Greens are like making waves right now, about to maybe like potentially outseat Labour in the UK politics, which is good. The Greens are like the new left party, so all of these controversies kind of like play into those dynamics. So let's go ahead and watch it.
There's over 1,200 Epstein survivors. No, he hasn't done enough. I would say to the king that he needs to do the right thing and support a public inquiry.
The heart of this story are the horrific crimes of the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. I've been speaking to Lisa Phillips, a survivor of Epstein's abuse. Lisa, you've been on Newsnight many times before. We've spoken before, but it's great to have you here in London. Explain why you are here in London.
Thank you. It's good to finally see you in person. So I went to Westminster this week to meet with politicians. Ed Davey, MP Ed Davey, has been very supportive of Epstein survivors. He was one of the initial ones who called for a public inquiry.
And that's what you'd like to see, as a public inquiry here in the UK into Epstein's interactions with Britain, essentially?
Well, yes. I'm here to call for a public inquiry into the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and their child sex trafficking ring, global sex trafficking ring.
The Prime Minister is facing criticism again.
They have a way of making something incredibly serious sound incredibly silly when they say pedophile or whatever, pedophile. Yeah, I can't even say it. I'm too Midwest for that. I can't even do a British accent of how they say it.
Right.
The Prime Minister is facing criticism again for appointing Peter Mandelson to the job of ambassador to the United States, when there were a lot of warnings, it seems, at various stages about doing that. How does that make you feel that there were warnings and they went ahead and appointed him anyway?
Yeah, I don't really understand why he was warned and he knew about his past and he was able to still appoint him as ambassador.
Obviously, we don't know the details of why his vetting was blocked or whatever it might be, but there's this sort of language keeps being used. It was a risk worth taking, that it was known that he had the friendship with Epstein before. How does that make you?
Yeah, it shows how little they actually care. It shows how little they actually care about the crimes that were committed. They thought they could get away with it. They didn't really think that there would ever be any real consequences to like coordinating with Epstein, who was essentially like, Epstein was just a like go-between between the billionaires of all the various countries and all of the powerful capitalists of the world, right? Like he was essentially just like the linchpin right in the middle. And there's probably other Epsteins out there who are fulfilling that role now. But that's essentially what he was doing. And that's why when he was caught, and even when he was in prison, like he was protected constantly from the consequences of associating with him were protected at all points by both the Trump administration and the Biden administration, and the Trump administration again in Trump 1. Thank you. Gotcha. To keep him safe, or to keep his associates safe. And so, yeah, they never, I think, genuinely thought that there would be enough public pressure to actually release this stuff. And even the consequences that they face so far are not real justice. Like, if you were associated and like if you knew of the crimes that he was committing, and if you committed them yourselves, obviously you should be investigated and potentially thrown in jail, depending on what crimes you committed. And that still hasn't happened anywhere as far as I'm aware.
Feel that association was seen as a risk worth taking in quotes?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a risk worth taking. Mandelson was living in his house while he was in prison for pedophilia. So why would you, as a person of his caliber, stay at a known pedophile's home? It doesn't make sense to me.
Keir Starmer,
I agree,
a couple of months ago, back in February, said, at the height of the last time that Peter Mandelson was in the headlines, said, speaking to victims, he said, I'm sorry for what was done to you. Sorry that so many people with power failed. Sorry for having believed Mandelson's lies and appointed him. And sorry even now that you're forced to watch this story unfold in public once again. And yet here we are 2 months later, and it's unfolding in public once again. How do you feel now?
Well, I just don't understand, if he's so sorry, why doesn't he just initiate a public inquiry? He has the power to do it. If you're so sorry, why don't you do what's right for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and issue a public inquiry that'll look into these crimes, that'll look into, who was there, why did it happen, and how to prevent it in the future.
To what extent, because clearly...
They're so sorry. What's that South Park episode? Oh, I'm sorry.
This whole thing has gone to the question of judgment of Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, to have appointed him and kept him there, and only then later, when some of the Epstein files came out, decided to sack him. Does that make Keir Starmer suitable to be Prime Minister?
No.
Well, I just think that you're misleading the public, right? You're saying one thing, and then when the files comes out, because they didn't anticipate the files would ever come out, then you have to change your story, because now the public knows what really went on.
He's protecting pedophiles and pedophile associates. It's just like, he should not be in office. He should have been, I don't know what kind of proceedings that they have over there, but if they have impeachment or what, but he should be gone. That's not okay. Same over here. I understand. I'm in a glass house. Like I want Trump gone too for being, a pedo, but I don't know. Unfortunately, the way our government is structured, and I guess probably the way their government is structured too, public opinion doesn't really matter that much, to be honest. So
I'm not sure if that qualifies you for Prime Minister, but if you've made mistakes, the best way is to prove to the public that you want to do the right thing. And the best thing that you can do, what the public wants, what the Epstein survivors want, whether you're from the US, the UK, the Commonwealth, globally, everybody wants a public inquiry, because then we can find out what went wrong and how to prevent it in the future. It's the only way to get the correct answers.
I will almost guarantee you that if they do that inquiry, like if they're serious about it and actually do it, they 100. I mean, they kind of already admitted to some extent that they were aware of his associations with Epstein, but they probably knew a lot more. Like I bet they knew a lot more about his associations with Epstein and potential crimes that he had committed. So, I don't know. There's definitely a reason that they're trying to hide it.
Really going on.
This is obviously the first time we've spoken on Newsnight in person. It's also the first time I think you've been on since you joined Victoria in Washington for our special programme. I mean, it was an extraordinary moment to have so many survivors together telling their stories.
Yeah, it was powerful.
It was an amazing moment and such a powerful emotional watch. How do you feel now, looking back on that with the passage of time?
Looking back on the conversation with Victoria, well, it was very powerful for me when we held up the pictures of us at the age when we were abused. It was difficult for all of us. That's when we, teared up. Looking at that age, people have to understand the age that we were. Yeah. We're young women and teenagers at the time, and that's what we're really looking to protect here.
I'm so proud of these people for coming forward, man. It's one thing to accuse, just in general, just to accuse a man of sexual assault in society. It's generally, ignored, dismissed, all of that sort of stuff. But it's another to accuse the global pedophile linchpin of every billionaire in the fucking world. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's insane how much pressure, like, and also some of these people who came forward mysteriously died as well. You know, like, there's that aspect too. If you come forward against these people, there is a non-0% chance that you are going to be found in a ditch somewhere someday. So like, it is just very, I don't know, just their bravery is something that I think most people will never even have an opportunity to be as brave as these people are. So like, hats off to them. Seriously, this is incredible.
Can you tell me a bit about why? Because clearly some survivors have come forward and appear on Newsnight, and we're really grateful for that because it's a really important story for us to cover. But others don't and haven't. Tell me why you are in London doing this. You could be at home, you could be doing something else. Why do you persist with it?
Yeah, there's probably better things I could be doing. But the most important thing is this is about children. And there were over 1,200 survivors of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of them were under 18 years old. This is the most important thing to me, is speaking out for survivors. It's the whole reason why I did at Capitol Hill, was to speak out and call to survivors. You know, that we are the ones that we're being brave right now, but all of us are scared and frightened, and all of us don't know what the future holds. But what we do know is that the most important thing is to...
Yeah, ma'am. I mean, I would have to go through like all of them. The name that I remember the most though is for Virginia Giuffre. 41 was found dead April 25th. I think after they had recently come forward to the police in an apparent suicide. And then I'm reading right now, Carolyn Andriano and Leigh Sky Patrick died of drug overdoses in 2023 and 2017. Those are three that I'm just reading right now. I think there were more, but and also apparent suicide. Yeah, we know a lot about apparent suicides. Epstein knew a lot about apparent suicides. So yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people, especially after they come forward, who suspiciously died, or like conveniently timed died like right after. So yeah, that's why I'm saying like these people are incredibly brave for doing this. I think now that the story is so big and they're, you know, essentially out there on TV, if they were found dead, like at this point, I think like everybody would just assume, right? Like I think that it would be hard for people to believe that it was just an accident at this point. But yeah, there's a few names.
Shed light on what's been going on, and just being protective of these children. And a lot of women came forward in the UK, whether through their attorneys or through the Metropolitan Police or the local police station. They've come forward. They've filled out, you know, what happened to them, what went wrong, why wasn't that looked into. And yeah, you see a lot of us US survivors coming forward, but I do know there are UK survivors, and that's why I'm here. That's why I met with the MPs, is to shed light on what's really going on and just find out what's going on through victims coming forward in the UK.
Well, we really appreciate you doing that, because it's important for you and your stories to be told. In the next week or so, we've got the King is going to the United States on a state visit. How do you feel about that happening at this precise moment when there were still all the questions that you're talking about?
Well, the King has already said that he cannot meet with survivors over there. But what the King can do is he can support a public inquiry.
I mean, in part he said it's because there were live legal cases that he doesn't want to get involved in. But would you like to have met him?
I understand that he doesn't want to get involved. But when I was assaulted on the island, there was someone there that he's related to that was on that island. And for my protection and for what happened to me,
yeah,
I don't understand why.
I mean, his brother, right? Isn't it his brother? What's his name again? Prince Andrew's, or brother or son? I can't remember. Third child and second son of the Queen. So yeah, because I don't, dude, I don't follow the monarchy. I don't follow who's in line and what all the relationships of all of them are, but I'm assuming she's talking about Prince Andrew here.
Why there was a
Former
royal
Prince
on the
Andrew.
island on the same day that I was assaulted.
Do you think, I mean, he's clearly, the king has done a lot since he became king. He's removed the titles and the residence of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Do you feel he's done enough?
There's over 1,200 Epstein survivors. No. He hasn't done enough. He needs to stand up for so many survivors that went through this, that was assaulted, between Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. What if she's pardoned by our president of the United States? What if she's pardoned and she's just free? She
potentially will be. She potentially will be. Then you're asking, oh yeah, didn't someone get kind of banished from the royal family because of their ties to Epstein? That's who they're talking about. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, was, yeah, he was the one who had deep ties with Epstein. It's basically well-known knowledge that he is a pedophile and has raped many girls, like dozens of girls. And so, like, yeah, he is the one who has been stripped of all of his titles. I think there's a funny photo I can bring up real quick. The best photo that we have of him. Let me see if I can open a new tab. Well, it's a very small photo, but this was him when he was finally, I think, taken in for questioning. But as far as I know, he hasn't been arrested, investigated, or tried with any crimes. So, but yeah, this is him. If you want a actual picture of him, though, or like what he actually looks like normally when he's not tied up in the back of a cop car, this is what he normally looks like. He's a lot older now, I think, than that photo, but
hasn't been held accountable in the UK. This is the reason why a public inquiry is so important. It's because her crimes need to be looked into. We need to understand why Mendelssohn was able to hang out in a pedophile's house. We need to understand why 6 survivors filled out forms to say they were assaulted. What happened to them? Why haven't they been looked into? There's so many reasons why this public inquiry is so important. I'm not the only one here. I represent hundreds of survivors.
And so if the king or the queen were to see this conversation we're having, what's your message to them?
I would say to the king that he needs to do the right thing and support a public inquiry. Have the heart for victims of assault. I know in the UK, you guys are empathetic to victims of sexual assault. And I would also say to the Prime Minister that he has the power to issue a public inquiry, just like that, and to do the right thing. If you're so sorry, do the right thing.
Lisa, we really appreciate you talking to us tonight.
I agree. They should do the right thing. Yeah, I mean, we should as well. Like over here in America, like I keep saying, we live in a glass house because our pedophile is the president of the United States. So, or like our primary Epstein associate is currently president. So, yeah, it's the world sucks. The world sucks. We live in the worst timeline.